Hey friends, welcome back. My name is Christine, and today we are pulling out our crochet hooks. And I swear it's an easy project. This is very beginner friendly, but we are going to be making our own little ornaments. I know it might look difficult, but I swear even the basic beginner can actually do this one. So what we'll do is we'll go step by step, up close and personal, showing you how to do the different stitches, which is only 2, and finishing off the project. So I just thought I'd bring you with, so come on with. So this is the project that we're making. We're making these fun little ornaments, and there's just like, you know, sky is the limit for what you can do with these. This is the style that I've made. I mean, just wait until you see how easy this is. You just wind it and then you put the string through. So let's just start out with like the super simple thing, what supplies you need. So I have my own personalized crochet hooks. I have it marked like what letter it is according to the size. So this is like fit specifically for my hand. So I have a G and an H because of the different width of the different yarns. And I just have a little bit left of this green, so I'm gonna use this one up today. And then I have this fun sparkly green, so it's a little bit thicker. So I'm going to use the bigger number on the crochet hook, so the one that's just a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller. So that kind of is the deciphering tool. And then I have some burlap you can use. You can use regular twine. And then I just loved these. I got these like a 3-pack at Hobby Lobby. It was all 50% off. So that's like the thin twine that I'm using to go up and through the middle. And then of course you need the beads. So I had some miscellaneous beads laying around, so I utilized that. And I just added that little blessed up on top there for the star. And the whole project, I timed myself the other day, and it took me about 18 minutes from start to finish to do one. So if that kind of helps you, I'm not the fastest crocheter, but it just really was a pretty simple project. So I thought I'd show you while I'm getting a few things done. So of course you need some scissors to do some trimming. And then I have a very large like darning needle. So you need something like that at the end, so when you pull the strings up and through. And then the other thing I have is like the teeniest, tiniest crochet hook, because we will be feeding the ends through like this. So I'll show you how to do that as well. And let's get started. This is what it looks like, ta-da, at the end of the project. So it's only 2 steps for the crochet part. So let's get into it. So I'm going to be using a little bit thinner yarn, not the super thick. So I'm going to use the smaller crochet hook, which is the letter G. And I'm just going to kind of find my end here, and I'm going to make just a like a slip knot. So here's my end. I'm taking this, letting it drop, grabbing it, twisting it, and then I just kind of pop it through, and then I stick my needle through. And then that's the start. So it's very basic crochet, and I think you can see pretty good here. So however you learned how to hold the yarn, this is how I learned. I wrap it around one finger and then I grab the end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of loosely chain 60. So I'm just going up and around, grabbing and pulling through. And I use this finger to kind of move this up and down. And I'm going to go grab and pull through. You see how it makes a chain? So that's what we're talking about. We're chaining, doing a single chain. And so you want to do the count. So this is number 3 and so on. So I'm going to keep going. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so here I am. I have 60 single chains done. And at the end of the 60, you're just going to add 2 more. So there's 1 and there's 2. And then we're ready to start the next stitch. So you're going to make a half double crochet, meaning you're going to wrap it around before you put it in the hole, and then you're going to skip those 2 that you just made, those extra 2, and you're going to go right into number 60. So you see how I have 3 on there? And now I'm going to reach over and grab through. I still have 3. And then I'm going to grab and bring it through all 3. That's a half double crochet. So let's do it again. So here I am. I'm just going to, before I put it into any stitch here, I'm wrapping around and I'm kind of holding it with that finger, and I'm just going right next to the one I just did. And I'm reaching in and I'm yarn overing and pulling it through. There's the 3. You always want to make sure you have 3 before you reach up and pull all the way through. So that's stitch number 2. So we'll do it again. Yarn over. We're going into the next stitch. And I'm grabbing, pulling through. I have my 3 there. And I'm grabbing and pulling this all the way through. There we go. We've got 3 done already. Only a million more to go. So you do continue to do that for all 60 stitches that you've done. So continue to do that all the way to the end, and I'll see you once we get there. Okay, there we go. I just finished my last stitch. So I'm at the end, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my yarn this way and just kind of make a big loop and just make sure that I have enough, and then I'm going to give it a snip. It's a little bit different trying to do this on camera. I don't know if you've ever tried. All right, and then this will just come out, and that leaves the end. And you can kind of tell the front and the back. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm just going to do some tucking. This is a little bit long, so I'm going to trim that one more time. Just kind of make them even. I usually tuck it in about 3 times, and then I feel like I'm pretty safe. So I'm just going to snip that off pretty equally. And then I'm going to take my other little teeny tiny crazy needle, and you can use like a little stitch releaser and a few other things. And so what I like to do is I like to take this, and then I'm going to lift one of these stitches and just grab that end and pull it through the best I can. You know, sometimes with some of this yarn, it tends to pull apart, which is fine. And then you just reach back up there and pull the other part through. There we go. So that's like 1. And then I just do the same thing. There's another like little stitch right here. It's a little bit different, like I said, on the stuff that is solid. So like this type of yarn, there's not all the little miscellaneous threads. So it does make it a little bit easier. And then I'm just going to go one more time. Just reach up through and grab that through. And then I'm just going to repeat it on this side. So that's the original end that we started with. Just reaching up and pulling through. There we go. And then same thing over here. Just find a stitch that you can kind of pull it through. There we go. And if you feel like it needs more security, you can kind of maybe tie a few little tiny knots, but I always think that this usually does me well. Like I said, just like three times through. All right, well, you kind of get the gist here. So, like I said, I pulled it through on this side 3 times, and then I'm going to give it a trim. Just as close as you can. And that leaves like a nice clean edge. Like I said, don't look at this one because I'm going to mess with that off camera. But now let's get to the fun part. Okay, so here we go. I just got a couple things ready. I put my yarn through, my little needle that we're going to be using. And then I'm just going to measure out, you want 7 layers. So this is how I like to do it. I like to do it like on a flat surface, so it kind of holds its shape. And we're just going to see how it measures out here. And so the goal is, I did a couple of them a little bit different. So you want it to have that little bit extra at the top, I think. I think it looks cute. So that's what the goal is. And some people like to put like a stick pin through it or what have you, but I just think that's just like one extra step that's not needed. And then once you have it measured out, so we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I think that's good enough for 7 up on the top there. And you can adjust it along the way. But yeah, you want it to look like a little Christmas tree. So the goal is, I'm going to do the faith, hope, and love just because I think that's really cute and sweet. And so I'm just going to start right there. And I have my needle. So the other kind of big thing you want to make sure is that the hole on the bead, I want to make sure it says hope. I had one on there that said hop, actually. It was missing an E. You want to make sure that the hole is large enough for everything to fit through. I did have some other beads, like I had some of these beads, and it didn't fit through. So you see what I mean? So I actually brought my needle to the store when I picked these beads out. So anyways, and I'm not cutting or anything off of my spool yet. So I'm basically just going to try to line it up right in the middle. And I'm just kind of stabbing through so you can see it. And don't roll away. And I'm just going to put it on. And I'm going to run it up and through. Okay. Not real far, just because you have the next layers to go through. And so line it back up. And then faith, hope, and love. So we're going with hope next. And I'm just kind of squeezing where the middle is. All right. And then I'm going to pop hope on there. It's looking pretty cute and centered. And then for the last one, let's go up through. And we're going to put faith on there. And then I'm just going to, let's redo that. Faith. And I'm just going to kind of redo it so it's got a little bit of bend in the top. All right. So there we go. You just kind of keep pulling till it's tight. And there's the beginning of it. Let me switch angles here. So now that you have that, make sure you have enough thread on the end here, because we are going to go back down through, okay? So not in the exact same spot, you're just going to go back down through, and it actually is pretty easy. So you can kind of see the holes on the beads are big enough, and I'm just kind of popping it through. Here we go. And there it is. It's already kind of out. And then when you pull it through, that's the trick at the top. You want to leave out as much as you want for the ornament part. So I always like adding another little something at the top. So I'm going to leave it about there. And then here we are at the bottom. I'm just going to trim enough to tie it. Okay. Set that to the side. And then I'm just actually tying it at the bottom, just like in a knot. And you can get as fancy as you want, and you can 1000% trim that off too if you don't like that. I just think it's a little extra decorative. So just like a kid's knot. So there's that. And then at the top, there's this little extra that was left. That's what I like to use to just tie my little bow at the top. And then just a tip and trick is, instead of like tying it like your shoelaces, so when you make your bow, you go backwards, you go up and around, and it actually makes a nice little bow. Anyways, you guys kind of get the gist here. And you know, a lot of people take different twine, different burlap, and you know, you can always do that as well. And some people actually take and put little sequins on it. I'm just trying to use up some of the yarn that we have, and then I did end up buying the beads. But yeah, it just was a fun little project that I thought was very, very beginner friendly. So there you go, guys. That's the one that we put together. But yeah, what do you think? I think it's a cute project that doesn't take a real long time, right? How fun. All right, well, let's get this video closed up. So there you go, friends. A fun, easy project. And who doesn't love a homemade gift? So let me know down in the comments what you think. But look at that cutie. And you made it yourself. And it didn't take that long. So let me know what projects you guys are doing for the holidays. This is one of them. So if you're one of my family members, you know what you're getting in the mail. And thanks again for stopping by my little channel. And if you like videos like this, I do crafting and some baking and all kinds of little miscellaneous things. Hit that like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on Christine's Routines. Take care and God bless.